wherever I heard noise, that's where I went. If you're looking through the window instead of looking in that mirror, a certain amount of what comes out of you is just exploration, you know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Eyes to Us. I am your host, Andre Zamor, speaker and coach, and today is going to be a very special day because it marks the beginning of me sharing my spiritual journey. The past 5 years has been filled with a journey of reconnecting with my roots through DNA testing, discovering my true origins, and going through hypnosis session, plant ceremonies, and exploring my own Akashic records. So I want to say today is a very special day too because we got our very first guest of season 2. So let's dive in. My spiritual journey started with adoption. At the age of 16 months, I was adopted from Haiti, Port-au-Prince, and I was adopted in Canada. And I was only weighing 16 pounds. And it's only in my adulthood that I took a DNA test and I discovered that my roots are more Italian and Nigerian than Haitian, which I was mind blown. But it is through plant ceremonies that I was able to connect my wisdom on a different level. And it's in 2022 that I had the chance to experience a ego death transition. So if you guys don't know what it is, I had the chance to experience 2 ayahuasca ceremonies. And these ceremonies really changed me on a cellular level. Then in 2023, I had the chance to experience 2 Kambo ceremonies, which is a frog medicine, and it helps you release the trauma that's built inside. And it is through hypnosis that I was able to connect to my past lives, and I was also able to understand that I'm being followed by my spiritual guides. And it's finally through a medium that was able to read my Akashic records that I was able to channel my spiritual guide and really do a full circle. And today, I am finally embodying my higher self, and that's why I am really excited to. I will not introduce him. He will introduce himself. But I'm really excited to talk with our guest today, who will share their insight on how we can benefit from spirituality because our guest has dedicated their life to exploring spiritual practices and helping others find their path to enlightenment. Together, we'll discuss how spirituality can enhance your well being, bring clarity to your life passion, and foster deeper connection with yourself and others. We will also discuss the reason why our guest was led to move away from traditional spiritual labels and how this shift has impacted their purposes. So, with no further ado, I introduce you to our guest.
Thanks, brother. There's parts of that story I didn't know about you. It's really interesting to hear and gather more information about your journey, and I'm honored to be here as the first guest of season 2. I admit that I didn't know there was a season 1, but I'm happy to be a part of this now, knowing that you're doing this and putting this out and putting yourself out there to help people and share your path with other people as well. As I listen to yours and parts of yours, it reminds me of some of the starting points where I was many years ago and going down these different routes of modalities, checking out about myself, changing and challenging my beliefs of myself. And that's really how some of that started is that many of us come to this as a dance of crisis or catalysts, and that's where mine started. No different than many other humans that's out there. I started to realize that there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of mental health, a lot of mental illness, and everything that was happening with myself. And I had a really grand, what people could say, awakening. I had a transcendental experience with my brother that passed away in 2011, and this experience was in 2020. And so he's no longer with us and was no longer with us. And I wasn't connecting with him. I wasn't spiritual in any way. I wasn't praying. I wasn't religious or anything. I was getting in the bathtub at 5 a.m. And he ended up coming to me in that moment and ended up showing me something that ended up evolving 8 months later. So he came again in a different form. And it was really interesting to witness something like that, and made me question the existence of everything I know. And so then I went down that famous rabbit hole of spiritual awakening, diving down all these different places to try to find out who I am, what it all means, what's going on, and how it can help me, or how it can be in a place where I can help others. And some of that started to lead to, you talked about Kambo. I'm a Kambo practitioner. I trained in the jungle with this medicine, with this frog medicine, which is considered a poison. It's a secretion from a frog that you apply topically to the skin. It's a purgative medicine to help bring out any kind of toxins, mind, body, spirit. And the idea behind what it is that I believe that you're going for in this podcast is to bring up that other side of holistic that many of us suppress or ignore or just don't have any awareness of. And what that is the spiritual side. Where are we connected outside of ourselves? What's the bigger thing that we can connect with? And whether you call that God, or you call that Allah, or you call that Yahweh, or you call it something else in the realm of what it is that you're looking for, if that piece is missing within you, there's a big proponent of your life that seems to be lost or not fulfilled. So you hear a lot of people, how that shows up is when they say, I don't feel like I have purpose, or I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Because many of us come through this kind of point where we say, we want to do things for ourselves or for our family, but is there a bigger picture of service of why we're here and what we're doing, and how are we conducting ourselves in life? So when we actually put ourselves outside of just this pleasure pit of trying to attain all of these things through materialism or consumerism, we start to recognize that those things don't fill us up in the way that we're really trying to become whole. And when I say whole, it's this feeling of presence. It's this feeling of just being good with what you have, that sense of gratitude, that sense of really appreciation of a vibrational frequency that ends up becoming something that you feel so complete with. And a lot of people are missing that feeling. And when you attain that, it's in little moments. It's not something that can stay forever. It's not something to attain like enlightenment, as Buddha would say. There's nothing to attain. You're already here. You're already doing it. And that's where my journey has come full circle, even with coaching, podcasting, my own life, is to recognize that the thing that I truly want to do in this life is to enjoy the human experience. And so be it, if the path is to dive deep into these modalities at that time, that's great. I don't judge those things. But it's all a part of this bobbing and weaving, ebbing and flowing of the path that we're on, which is just to live life. And that was the message that my brother came back and gave to me. He said, the greatest gift in this world is life itself. And that was my question, is I wanted to know if he knew what the meaning of life was, because I ended up finding it out 2 weeks prior to that when he came to me. And then 8 months later, he revealed to me that he did, that he knew what the answer was that he had and going before he died and passed away with cancer.
Wow. Wow, this is one hell of an intro. Thank you, Justin. So we've reached already so many topics and so many different aspects. Let's start from the beginning. So you're Justin, and what is your what would you say you're currently doing? What is your current role?
So you'll see it on my shirt here is opus, and opus is Latin for work, and this is what first came to me. And above here it says holistic healing. So my name is Justin McCarthy. I was born and raised in Ben Cove, Newfoundland. It's a small town outside of Corner Brook. And the past 4 years I've been living in Atlantic Canada, recently relocated to Montreal, Quebec, and enjoying this transition, this move, this new chapter in my life. And what it is that I do currently is I work with people in the wellness community, both one-on-one coaching and also with the corporate space. And the corporate space is what I've been focused on the most, plus doing a podcast of my own, which is called Just Talking.
So you've also have a podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. So with does that podcast help you find a voice and also spread your message?
Yeah, and it's more about like what it is it's a raw conversation. So I try not to conduct any form of interview. It's truly my curiosity. So it's like my inner child coming out to ask people about their journey. Because my journey, I feel that I'm on this journey and I am very much aligned with my own path and where I'm going and allowing it to flow in the same way that we would say that the river flows like the Tao. And so as I am just kind of flowing with everything that's there, I want to know what other beings are experiencing as well and what they're going through. So even like yourself, like what is the story that you've gone down? Where have you come from? What is the things that you're believing about yourself? What is this sense of belief that you've deconstructed? Maybe a 9 to 5, a corporate job, and now you're reconstructing with DNA tests or Akashic records, like you said for yourself. So now it's about giving a platform for that person, me being interested in that person to bring them on and asking them questions and just having a raw, open conversation. Something that we might be missing a little bit within our society is having that sense of sitting around the table like I used to watch all my elders do with a cup of tea and just gossip and ask questions and just yammer on about nonsense. And this connection and this love that we share with each other, this connection of relationship between one another is what lights up all of our lives.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. We're deeply longing for connection, and it's when we're connecting with ourselves that I understand it's like it's so much easier to share. There's so much people that either live in shame or insecurity because they're afraid of connecting with themselves. And that brings me to the next thing because there was a part in my spiritual journey that I was questioning myself. Am I too spiritual? Am I I'm trying to connect with myself, but am I disconnecting with the people around me? And that really put me in a space where I, I was accepting being weird, but in the
Mm,
same way, I was also worrying because I was like, who am I going to connect with? And the old principle of tribe was not in concept for me then, but um, it's really through patience and through different years and meeting different characters that I was able to connect and see what I want and also test my boundaries.
mhm.
So, how would you say that your spiritual journey influenced your relationship with your family, your friends, your people that you're trying to have a relationship with?
Yeah, most definitely. And when we get around each other, the perception that you have of me and I have of you will never actually fully align with your perception of yourself or my perception of myself. And then if we take someone else's perception from the outside of you and I, it's going to be different once again. So once I start going around, say, family, I don't act different. I just act naturally, authentically. I act the way I'm going to act at that time. If I'm in a low mood, I'm in a low mood. If I'm happy, I'm happy. And I just act in that way unapologetically in my space at that time in that present moment. So as I come on to something like this, I don't really have anything constructed. I looked over your questions and kind of had an idea. I was like, yeah, these are ones I'm going to answer, but what needs to come out will come out.
Yeah,
And I
that's
always
how
end
it
up
is.
speaking my truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the parts of these things that happen with you and I, is the thing that I end up coming around full circle for myself is just really recognize to detach from all of these labels. Am I spiritual or am I not spiritual? Am I religious? Am I not religious? Do I believe in God? Do I not believe in God? And this black and white, this duality, the dichotomy of that, like, kind of bi-sectional relationship that we have. It's either I'm on the left or I'm on the right. I've detached from all of it, and now I just kind of sit nowhere.
Mm.
And that's the most beautiful thing when we start to recognize non-attachment and impermanence, is that the person that I believed myself yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, it's continuing to evolve and it's continuing to change. So I don't hold anything tight right now to say I'm X, Y, or Z. If I was to box myself in, I would say I'm agnostic. I do think there's probably something outside of this spiritually, but I don't know. I've had crazy experiences: ayahuasca, 5-MeO, Cambo, plant medicine, meditation, transcendental experiences, breath work. I've done a ton of these things, and I've had
Can you
amazing. Yeah.
can you explain a few of those ceremonies to our audience that might not be aware of what
Mhm.
plant ceremonies are? Because I know that you specialize, or you still specialize in the Campbell frog medicine.
Yeah, and I
And
also hold ceremonies for psilocybin, magic
okay,
mushroom, and 5-MeO DMT. So 5-MeO DMT is an analog, a different type of molecule of the DMT molecule. So you just change a little bit of the construction of that molecule, which is the analog. And so ayahuasca has 4-NN-DMT, and then if you synthesize psilocybin, it's 4-ACO DMT. So these different forms of a psychedelic or psychotropic ends up creating an experience for someone to be able to work with things like creativity, or maybe revisiting trauma, being able to look at some past things that they have beliefs about, whether that's reframing them in their minds of this PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder. So this side of things, when we use psychotropics, we are allowing the mind to reshape and reconstruct the belief of what we believed happened and how we can actually live with that moving forward. So some of these experiences, whether you're in the jungle, like I bring people into the jungle in Peru and in Brazil, and I bring them into the tribes, the Yawanawa, or with the Shipibo tradition in Peru. And then by going into these places, it's very much a tribal, old school type of way where we go into the jungle working with these medicines. And so the curanderos, or the ayahuasqueros, the people that are working with it, the elders, they're there holding space for you. Now, for myself, being trained in other psychedelics, I hold space here in a more Western way, where people then can be in a space like a house or in a bedroom where they're safe, contained, and they're probably listening either headphones or I have a speaker, and they're listening to gentle music that really rides them through the experience itself. So the benefits for these that people could have are far and vast, and there's tons of research without chewing up all the time here together.
yeah.
I would encourage people, if you're feeling called to, meaning that you're interested or curious about it, dive into it. All you can do is gain some information at the least, or maybe it's going to put you down a path where you're interested in possibly opening up some stuff for yourself.
What's what's the difference between having, maybe you'd say, a more authentic experience in the Peruvian forest than evident maybe here? Because I had my
Mm.
ceremony here in New Brunswick,
Yeah, yeah.
and like I can't really compare it to what I had. I can't really compare it to what would be in the Peruvian jungle, but I know that the person, my shaman and their apprentice, they were able to compare it and say that like it was more of like a authentic Peruvian ceremony.
Mm.
So, do you think it takes away? Do you think it takes away the benefit of having a ceremony in your living room in your own comfort than going and putting all that those costs, all that money and traveling to abroad just to maybe have a spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah, no, great question. And I would say the first and foremost is be comfortable with the person that you're working with. And if you feel comfortable and that you feel like that person can hold space for you to go through your process and do what it is that you need to do during that time, then that's first and foremost. Just be comfortable with that person. Now, the other proponent of it in comparison, I don't think they're comparable at all. When you're immersed in the environment and you're in the space of the traditional ways or the place where it originates, you can look at the vine, you can create and make the brew, you can see the plant growing in front of you.
Yeah.
That deep connection that you have in that way is above and beyond anything. So just like me trying to explain to you what Haitian food is like,
Uh-huh.
and you go downtown Ottawa and you just go to this Haitian restaurant, yeah, it might taste pretty close to what you'll get in Haiti. However, when you're on boots on the ground, when you're in and immersed, you can smell the smells, you hear the sounds, you hear people speaking the language, you see the families, you're resonating, you're connecting in a deeper fashion. It's worth the investment to go and see yourself into these places. If that's not available to you, luckily there are people that are offering this medicine, hopefully somewhere close geographically to you. So whether that's in Atlantic Canada or somewhere else in the nation, anywhere in the world, there's always places that are offering different forms of this medicine.
What would be some common misconception that people would have about spirituality? And
I could lump both of those together. So plant
yeah,
medicine and spirituality, the biggest misconception is this is going to save you. Like this is the thing that's going to save you from all your problems, all your issues, all the mental clutter that you got going on. That's the number one thing is that most of modern spirituality, and I believe this is a question that you're probably going to get into or that you have, this overlaps right here is that the modern spirituality or new age spirituality that we call it,
hmm,
much of it is just rebranded Catholicism. So instead of actually being saved by Jesus, you're saving yourself. No one's coming to save you. Save yourself. And you can do that through an ayahuasca ceremony or taking breath work or having your morning routine. And so this is a lifestyle. And that's what people have to recognize and continue to kind of get like a little bit of a poke in the ribs to say true change comes with lifestyle change. It creates new characteristics and habits and it creates your new personality. These are developed by indoctrinating new beliefs into your system, and new spiritual beliefs can give you that foundation. So the misconception big time is that this is a fix all or catch all, and then I can go back to my life where I was actually doing a lot of these cardinal sins like overstimulation, over pleasuring, gorging, taking things in, spending lots of money, fraternizing, all the things that are in there that are over and above in excess. And we can't go back to that lifestyle. We have to find a new one that's more fulfilling and whole, like I talked about in the beginning.
whole and less as I can hear because that's like all the excess that we don't need. So like I can really relate to that because I've always been a minimalist and just I understood like how much I need per month to really live and how much I need per month to really be happy. And before the gap used to be much bigger, but now it's not. It's not because I feel like it's everything I'm going for is it's in line. It's aligned, and I'm not spending money on things that don't really matter. So I can really relate to that. But without going into the woo woo stuff or the being the wellness expert and doing the yoga and going on the 3 jogs a day. Um, there's a lot of people that it's hard to get into it, but I find a tool that's really You don't need it, but I found a tool that that really helped improve my spirituality was mindfulness. Like
Mm,
you can do it with your eyes open, just conscious decisions, mindfulness living.
mm.
So like what would you say would be like the you spoke about speaking with your brother. Was that a pivotal moment for you that really made you shift your new approach to spirituality, or that was happening before or after?
Yeah, 100%. That's the one that definitely sits there as I would say, the catalyst or the origin part of my story that shifted a lot of stuff. There was something happening at that time. Like many of us, we were in lockdown. We were all figuring out what was going on with all the COVID stuff happening. And I didn't know if I was going or coming. I just knew we were in this standstill. And a couple of weeks, there's a few things that happened. We had a plan. I was married at the time, and my dream is to live aboard a sailboat and live in that fashion and that lifestyle. So at that time, it was very much at the tip of what I was doing, everything I was doing. So my wife and I had a sailboat bought and down payment paid for down in Curacao, and we were waiting to go down. And the week that she was supposed to be flying down was the week after we locked everything down. And so we were on our way to go live that dream and live aboard a sailboat, and it got just pulled out from under us. And then at that time, I was like, that's how close I was to thinking I was living this ideal life. When all that got pulled away and everything was there, and then I was also in school with Veterans Affairs because I have 10 years in the military and in the Canadian military. And school shut down. So they just passed us all, gave us all passing grades and said we were finished. So I had nothing to do. And so I was like, okay, so I'm just going to consume the news, consume content, try to figure out what's going on and try to rejig like how we're going to live summer. And so things were shifting, stress was leaving,
Okay.
new outlooks on the future was happening. And I was like, I don't even know who I am or what I'm doing at this point. And this moment ended up happening all of a sudden. And I didn't prepare for it. I wasn't doing anything special about it. I was just up early in the morning, poured a hot bath, was going to go in and take a relaxing bath because I was working with a therapist at the time, talking about like de-stressing my life and mindfulness practices. And he was introducing me to a couple things. And so as we were like going into these practices or just this like routine of de-stressing, this was one of the things I did. And I had this massive moment with my deceased brother. And that definitely was the point where stuff really shifted and everything kind of like woke up for me. I really started looking into like what is out there besides me and my needs and my wants and my desires.
Wow. So I was your because we talked about your spirituality before. How did that new approach influence your relationship? Because that change not you must have like you said you because you said you were married, so you must have brought a lot of change, and from there you must have met a lot of characters that you've brought in your life, or you've you've maybe block yourself from. Because at first
Mm.
that's why I was protecting my energy. I was protecting, you know, mm, maybe my expectation.
Mm. No, I was wide open. I became a
You
yes
were?
man.
You
Yeah,
were?
and that's pretty much what
Wow.
I was. I jump in the deep end head first type guy, and that's what I did with this. Is that I said if this is something that is going to be significant in my life, if it's this big, if I look at it and I'm like, okay, what is this whole new lease on life type thing? I jumped in. My marriage ended 11 months later. Asked for
Okay.
a separation. During that time, I went through another massive fallout mentally because of pharmaceuticals and a relocation in that fall. It was 7 months later. And having that second moment with my deceased brother as well. These were all like catalysts that like started to stack up in this story that ended up creating the last 5 years of my life. And during that time, there was definitely rapid shifts, and the stuff that happened I guess you could peg me if you want to put me in a hole. I'm a Gemini. So conversation and outgoing is my nature, right? And so I fit the bill of a Gemini. Like if you put the archetype of what a Gemini is, I'm pretty much 95% bang on my sun sign. I can relate that
for the Scorpio.
Yeah. So there's, I was just, I fully in, like, it wasn't like dabbling and stuff. I found myself like going into different ideas, training for certain things, opening up, trying it all out. Like I was going in, like just dabbling, trying all these different things and seeing what worked for me, how it was. And people were talking about things like whether it was Akashic Records or breath work or plant medicine. And I was like, well, let's see what these are like, right? Let's see how great these are, because so many people were saying how amazing they were. So I was like, well, let me go test them and do my own review, like self-review, right? And some of them were good, and some of them I just left them behind, and they did nothing for me. I seen the purpose, I seen the utility, but it was, for myself, it's like coming from that military sports background, it's like I go hard. And so plant medicine really is one of those places where it pushes my boundaries. It puts me into a place of having to self-reflect big time. It humbles you. And it also puts me in a place where I have to have respect for something that I know has some kind of meaning or some kind of power out there. Whatever that interpretation is, I make up myself. I just believe like there's something significant about the interaction of these plants with us. No different than any other plant medicine or herbalism that's out there.
So how can our listeners incorporate how can our listeners incorporate little things in their daily life in order to improve their spirituality? What advice would you give them?
It's such a good question, but it's like, what would you say? What would be the one thing you would say to them? Slow down. Slow down. Just take those moments in between, the pause. Take that pause in between everything you do. If it's dishes, if it's an argument, if it's going to work, if it's picking up your kids, if it's going to that event, if it's getting home before getting in bed, those moments of a pause, and like you said earlier, the mindfulness, this is what I'm talking about. It's another reframe of the mindfulness. Just to take a moment and see yourself in that moment, to say, I'm here, I'm actually safe, I feel good, I'm grateful, and just take those pauses throughout your day just to break up the rat race, just to break up that life go, and then that journey. Stop and smell the roses, as people would say.
I love that answer. It helped me so much through a lot of things. So quickly, Justin, we got about 3 minutes left. What is your next what is your next aspiration? How can people find you, and what is your next step into your journey?
Right now, I relocated to Montreal. So if people are looking for any kind of place or space to talk, I do a lot of my stuff online. So you can look me up on Facebook or Instagram. I'm primarily on there. And also on email. Everything is Newfound Awakening. I'm from Newfoundland, Newfound, and then the Awakening at gmail.com, or Newfound Awakening Opus, some of the tag is under. You'll see all the clips and reels from the podcast. That's been the biggest thing that I've been diving into. This is a new studio that you're seeing here behind me that I've been setting up in front of me. I have a new desk and lighting and all these things. I'm really jumping into it.
I'd love to come on the air maybe for an episode.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. The conversations are light, easy. They're amazing. Sometimes they ruffle feathers and maybe poke at the bear a little bit, and that's kind of where I'm at. So the podcast is like the hottest thing. It's just talking. It's on YouTube and everywhere else that you can stream it. And that's been the biggest kind of endeavor that I've been on right now. Enjoying the summer is a part of it. And I feel this transition. There's a lot of new irons that's been in the fire smoldering for a long time that are starting to heat up and needing some attention. And they've been getting it over the last month. And we'll see where these next points come in the next few months here.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Justin. And one last thing, if you can tell me in 1 minute, what
Sure.
does the eyes to us mean to you?
It's exactly what I talked about getting out in my own journey of this self-centeredness, of this like everything revolves around me and it's about me, the I and myself, and that sense of who I am, only me. And the I is the ego. It's the mind's perception of it matters about me. And us is inclusive. It creates more of an inclusive feel. You're empathetic and compassionate towards other human beings, and you allow that to be not only including other people, but feel included yourself. Yeah. And belonging is a massive part of being human, is that we all want to belong somewhere. And so allow ourselves to just fit in as we are, where we are, in the stage that we're at.
Thank you very much, everyone. This was Justin McCarthy and our conversation on spirituality. Thank you, Justin. Hope you have a nice evening. Bye-bye. Before leaving today, I want to remind you about our partnership with BetterHelp.com. I often talk about the importance of mental health and how to take back control over your life. I've been through counseling myself and admit it to be the best investment I ever made. For anyone who needs a fresh start or anyone who's looking to understand better, you don't have to do it alone. BetterHelp is equipped with excellent mental health professionals and all that at the reach of your hand. They offer outstanding number of online therapy for individuals, couples, and businesses. How awesome! Healthy mental well-being is essential. You get to pick your own therapist and start your session today. Go at betterhelp.com/oneeye2us and get 10% off your first month of online therapy. You're going to be happy, just like tomorrow. Stay safe and happy, my eyes.
It's a little bit abstract when you're just walking around trying to think up stuff. And there are no physical parts. You're just trying to grab something out of the air, an idea, and then you realize that a lot of it's just trying to solve the riddle of life.